Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben, the award-winning gardening podcast as voted for by the Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and by my listeners. I hope that you have all clicked that subscribe button. If you're new to the podcast channel, please do click the subscribe button and then you get notified of all the new podcasts that get launched. And if you're not following me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok, make sure you look for Gardening with Ben and follow me on all my social medias. So sit back, relax, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's gardening podcast with Ben. Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben's podcast, hosted by, obviously, Gardening with Ben. If you're new to this podcast, make sure you click that follow and subscribe button and then you'll get notified as we do new podcasts. Now, if you didn't listen to yesterday's episode, you need to go back and listen to that because that was talking about all the jobs which need doing in the allotment and garden in August, and there's quite a lot of useful hints and tips in there which certainly I will be using on my allotment myself because I'm constantly learning all the time. Being a gardener, you never stop learning. Every day is a learning day, and definitely with the amount of stuff which I'm always learning, I'm trying new stuff and new ways of gardening all the time, and it's just all trial and error, a lot of it. And if you get any useful hints and tips, never turn them down because they're always useful when you're doing gardening. Now, today's podcast, we're going to be talking about all the things that you can plant in August. Yes, you might think you've got to the end of the growing season, but nope, you can still continue growing stuff. So we're going to be talking about all the stuff which you can plant in the vegetable garden, in the fruit garden, and in the flower beds. So if you've got a pen and paper, make a note of all the things that you can sow this month, because why not keep growing and keep harvesting? Keep that harvest growing and keep producing your own fruit and vegetables. And yes, things are getting more expensive in the supermarkets, so growing your own stuff can be obviously cheaper, beneficial, and it's good for the mind and body. So yeah, let's get started with today's podcast. And first up, we're going to be talking about all the things which you can grow in the vegetable garden in August. So make sure you've got your pen and paper ready because it's always good to make notes. You can obviously come back and listen to this podcast again at another time. So let's get started. So what things can we be sowing in the vegetable garden this month in August? First up is autumn cabbage. Now, if you're wanting to grow cabbage throughout the autumn time, now is the time to plant this out. If you've started some growing in July, you should be picking this coming autumn. So yeah, now is the time to be planting this out and getting it in the garden. Carrots. You can still plant these this month, but make sure they are a variety that is fast growing. You need to check through your carrots and see which ones are fast growing and get some planted this month if you're wanting some carrots. Dwarf beans. Why not start a late cropping of dwarf beans? These can be sown in the greenhouse and straight in the ground, and you could be eating them come autumn. So yeah, if you're wanting a late crop of dwarf beans, get them in the ground now and you could be eating dwarf beans later. Endive. This is the last month to be sowing endive for a crop throughout the autumn period. Herbs. If you're wanting to start some herbs off, ready for next year, you can sow parsley, chervil and coriander this month to grow in the greenhouse. These will not grow outside at this time of year, so you need to start them off in the greenhouse. Kale. Kale is a good hardy plant. So if you're wanting to grow some kale, now is the time to be planting that out in the garden this month, and you'll be harvesting it throughout the winter and through the springtime. Kohlrabi. You still have chance to grow some this month. It will only take around 8 weeks until it's ready. It's one of the fastest growing vegetables that you can grow. So if you're wanting to grow some kohlrabi, now is the time to be sowing them. Lettuce. This is one of the vegetables that can still be grown this month The varieties to try growing are Arctic King and Winter Gem. So if you're wanting to be growing lettuce now, you need to be sowing Arctic King and Winter Gem. Pak Choi. August is the perfect time to be planting pak choi in the garden. Planting any earlier can result in bolting in the garden, so if you're wanting to grow some pak choi, get some in the ground now. Radish. This is one of the fastest growing vegetables in the garden, and if you're wanting to grow some radish for your salads, which adds a little bit of a kick to it, chuck some seeds in a row in the garden and watch them be ready in a few weeks, ready for your salad bowls. Salad leaves. You can keep sowing these this month to get a harvest throughout August and September. So if you're fancying some salad leaves, again to go with your radish, get some sown in the ground and get it picked throughout August and September. Spinach. Want to become like Popeye, big and strong? This is the month you can sow perpetual spinach for harvests right through to the end of the year. Spring cabbage. Sow seed straight into a bed or modules if you're wanting them. Protect them from slugs and they will be ready to pick in April time. So if you're wanting some spring cabbage in April, now is the time to be sowing them and they will be ready come April time. Spring onions. These can cope with the winter climates for harvests in spring. So why not try sowing some white Lisbon or Performer spring onions this month. So if you're wanting some spring onions in the springtime or later on in the year, sow some spring onions now and you'll be harvesting them later. Summer cauliflower. For an autumn crop of cauliflower, plant out summer and autumn cauliflowers this month. Swiss chard. So this in August is to be picking baby leaves in the autumn, or you can grow over a winter for a spring harvest. That's your Swiss chard. Turnips. Now this is the last month to be sowing turnips, so if you're wanting turnips for later in the year, sow some now and you can be harvesting them later. Winter cabbage. If you're wanting some winter cabbage, sow your winter cabbages this month to grow over the winter period in the garden. So that is all the tips of what vegetables you can still sow in August, and it amazes me how many you can actually still grow in August, as you'd think that it's be coming to an end and it's coming to an end of the time, but no, you can still sow so much this month. And also you can start planting Christmas potatoes this month. If you wanting potatoes for Christmas time, now is the time to be planting them. But you will need to plant them in tubs, because when it gets to October, when the frost is starting to come, you need to move them inside into a polytunnel or into a greenhouse where they'll be protected from the frost. They can't go in the ground at this time of year. Yes, they'd cope with the weather at this time of year, but as soon as the frost comes, it will kill the plants. So you need to plant them in tubs. You can leave them outside, keep them watered, and then come when the cold weather comes, move them indoors before the frost comes and keep them growing, and you can harvest them on Christmas Day and even have them with your Christmas dinner, which will be absolutely delicious, because homegrown potatoes are so much nicer than the supermarket ones. So that is everything that you can still sow in August. So get those seed packets out, get to the supermarkets where they're selling off all the seeds really cheap now, and go and sow some more seeds and keep things growing all the way through winter. I'm certainly going to give things a go all the way through winter this year. It's going to be the first time of trying, but I'm going to give it a go, and keep tuned on my social media and see how I get on. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram if you don't already, and we're going to try and grow stuff all the way through winter, so watch out for this space. Next up is what can be done in the fruit garden in August. So the only mainly thing that you can be planting in August really is your strawberry plants, as obviously if you've got strawberry plants already, they'll be sending out hundreds and hundreds of runners, and that is what mine are doing at the moment. They're sending out so many, it's unbelievable how many that they are actually sending out, and the amount of plants I'm going to have next year will be phenomenal if they all manage to take, and I'm going to try and get them all to take as much as possible. Each plant is possibly sending out 6 to 9 extra plants, so we could at least quadruple the amount of plants that I've got next year, and next year could be a massive harvest of plants. Well, harvest of strawberries, not harvest of plants, but yeah, I'm looking forward to giving as many plants the possible chance of fruiting next year. And you probably think, why have I got so many strawberry plants? You can never have enough strawberry plants. I've got like 3 beds full of strawberry plants. I've possibly got around 100 to 150 plants at the moment, but yeah, I'm hoping to get around 300 to 400 plants possibly growing next year. And the more strawberries the better, because all the time while they're producing in end of May, June time, when they're producing the fruit, I'm just going down every single day and picking them and harvesting them and collecting them delicious strawberries, and you can never have enough strawberries, trust me. My mum makes flans, she makes jams, I'm eating them with cream, eating them with ice cream every day. You just can't have enough strawberries, and wow, I'm definitely looking forward to next year. If I can get all these growing, I'll be so happy with what I get from them. So we'll see if they all take. So if you've got any strawberry plants, make sure you pot up them runners and make sure you get extra plants in your allotment and garden. So next up, we're going to be talking about what flowers you can plant in August. Obviously, the plants that you plant now probably won't bloom this year, but they will be growing for next year. So yeah, these are what you can grow for next year. So calendulas, I don't usually start them off at this time of year. I usually start them off possibly April time, and if you sow them now, they will grow and they will bloom for next year. So yeah, if you want to start them off now, you can do. You can obviously take off all the seed heads off your calendulas what are growing now, which I'm doing, and I'm drying them out, and then I'm going to be sowing them later. But it says you can sow them now and they can grow for next year, so why not? Yeah, start them off now and get them growing for next year. Cornflowers, again, usually I start them off in April, but it says you can sow them now for a nice display next year. I've got an absolutely fantastic display of cornflowers this year. So many have grown and it looks absolutely beautiful with all the blues alongside my calendulas, which are orange and yellows, and yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Next up are pansies. Now, are you wanting to add some winter colour to your garden? I know I certainly am, so I'm going to be picking up some pansy seeds myself. But now is the time to start sowing these. So yeah, start sowing them and you can get some nice colour in the garden for winter. Poppies. Poppies are free seeds. You can go around and find poppies everywhere, growing everywhere. Look for those heads, dry them out, and then burst the seed head and sprinkle the seeds all over your garden, and you'll get poppies growing everywhere all around the garden for next year. So if you don't mind wildflowers, just pop them and send them off and grow them anywhere you want. Violas, a bit like pansies, now is the time to be starting sowing them seeds and getting them going for the winter as well. And you can't not have some winter colour in your garden, and hopefully make it look nice and beautiful as well. So yeah, that is all the flower seeds what you can sow in August. So my main job is to be going through all my seed packets now and seeing what seeds I've got and what I can get started, because I do want to try and grow stuff through the winter, and that's one thing that I really do want to try. So stay tuned, follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and you'll see what I'm growing through winter and seeing if we can actually get some harvest going down at the allotment, and it will encourage me to go down more to keep an eye on them and keep them updated and keep you updated with how we're getting on with them. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that podcast. If you are new to the podcast channel, make sure you click that follow button, make sure you click the subscribe button on the platform you're listening on, and you will get notified as and when new podcasts come up. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcasts. Thank you for listening to today's Gardening with Ben's podcast. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do click that subscribe button and feel free to share it as well on your Instagram stories. All you have to do if you're listening on Spotify is click the share button and you can share it straight to your Instagram story for all your followers to listen to and help build my listeners up as well and get more people listening to it. Feel free to check out all my social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok. Go check it out. Check out my dancing. Gardening with Ben. And check out the link as well in the description of this podcast where you can check out my gardening t-shirt shop where I sell funny t-shirts with all different funny logos and designs on. And feel free to support me by purchasing one, and all the money obviously goes back into my allotment where I can share more gardening tips with you all. So until next time, remember, keep smiling, keep gardening and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcast.